Hello guys, today I'm inviting you to my kitchen. Since a lot of you have asked me, how do you get to make those big cakes? Well, this is where the magic happens, and today you'll be able to see how it's done. So the first thing I want to do is introduce you to my little friends in the kitchen. So this little friend right here is Baby Potter. This is the one that I use when I want to make like birthday cakes or small events. And this one right here is Mama Potter. As you can see, it's almost my size. And this is the one that we use when we want to make like wedding cakes or big events. So yes, in this case, the size does matter. There is a fundamental step I never skip before even disinfecting the areas I'm using or washing my hands. This step is the most important. Alexa, play some club music. Okay, so I just finished up breaking all the eggs. I washed my hands, which you have to do in this process like 45,000 times. It's necessary because you're going to use your hands for this process. It's your best tool. Now we're going to separate the yolk from the white. You want to do it in a quickly way, but at the same time soft, so it doesn't break. So you want to take the yolk, wave it like this, like this. From one hand to another, clean yolk, two, there you go again. From hand to hand, and the egg white is just gonna fall down, and you're gonna do that with all the eggs, okay? So let's go. You're gonna start adding the yolk very slowly. While the mixture is going on, I'm gonna go right here, and I already started to prepare my syrup, which is a delicious, tasty recipe. Includes sugar, water, and some other ingredients that I'm not gonna tell you because it's a secret, okay? Woohoo! Little by little. Here you go. This is the texture you want to see, kind of like a foamy, white texture. And then you will add your sugar little by little. Now, if I stop, you'll see it's like a type of like a snowy texture, and that's what you want, okay? So this is ready. We're gonna proceed to incorporate the batter inside the egg white, okay? So here we go. This is gonna be your last chance to make sure that your cake is going to be a hit by tasting the batter, okay? Oh my God, this is so good. So let's spray the pans and go to the oven. most risky part of the process, flipping the cake and hoping that it doesn't break. There we go. I'm gonna use wax paper and we're gonna put it again inside the pan. There we go. Perfect. I wish you could smell this. It smells like Hansel and Gretel house. Now we're gonna proceed to put the syrup in the cake, and this is what makes the cake moist and delicious. This syrup has some Puerto Rican secrets that I cannot share with you. So every time you go to Puerto Rico, you will hear bizcocho mojito. So if you like it wet, I know a lot about that. Every time you hear that cake causes diabetes, it is true. So, sorry my friends, but this is no healthy, but delicious. So that's about it for the baking process. Cakes need to stay there until tomorrow, which hopefully I'll be able to decorate them. Kitchen's clean, I'm sleepy, so see you tomorrow for the decoration process. Bye. Welcome to day number 2. Usually this is the part of the process that I enjoy the most because I get to decorate the cake. So I'm very excited to share this with you guys and show you how it's done. So let's get started. So this morning after the cake pans got cold, I wrapped them up in plastic. The reason for this, the purpose is for the syrup to go down inside the cake, and it makes the cake to be evenly wet and moist. So when you taste it, it will be delicious. So in this part of the process, I'm using styrofoam. And styrofoam is often used for a lot of reasons. Now, in this particular case, I'm gonna use it because I wanted to add some extra height to the cake. Even though the cake is tall enough, I want the cake to stand out at the table. It will also add solid stability to the structure when the time to cut the cake comes by. Just from your perspective, guys, this is the height that we're gonna add to the real cake. So when you put this together, it will almost double the size of the cake. So that's how you get a perfect illusion of a bigger cake. Here, I'm adding some cardboard to avoid the cake from getting in contact with the styrofoam. This also works as an excellent disposable tool. So when you're cutting the cake, the knife will stop at the cardboard, keeping you from getting through all the tiers at the same time. Now we're gonna cover the cake with buttercream. And you want the consistency to be smooth enough that it will slide on top of the cake, but not thick enough that will tear up the cake. And since it's gonna be covered in fondant afterwards, I'm not gonna worry or stress too much about the tiny little imperfections I could be making. Fondant's worst enemy is humidity. That's why I'm using cornstarch here. To keep the fondant from getting stick to the table or my hands, it's like working with pizza dough. I'm gonna use it on the roller as well, like I'm doing here with such a talent. I meant experience. You know, the fun part about working with fondant is that it's like playing with Play-Doh. The only thing is that you actually can eat the fondant. Although I must confess I have eaten Play-Doh as a child. Anyways, once you have verified the thickness and the size of your fondant, you're gonna go to the next step, which I call dressing the cake. And for this step particularly, you have to be very careful because just like me, the fondant is very flexible, but it can be very gentle, so you don't want to break it. You're gonna smooth it out, and instead of pulling down, you're just gonna help the fondant to just cover the cake by itself without pushing too hard, because the last thing you want is your fingerprints on the cake. Finally, you're going to cut the excess, which you are going to use on the next tier and so on. And you might have noticed that working with fondant can be tricky and stressful, but in reality, it's kind of like a very soothing process. So from now on, I'm gonna let you watch the next tiers while listening to this soothing music. Now, in order to make those beautiful flowers that you just saw, we're gonna use these ingredients and these tools. Now, if you look closely to these ingredients, they look exactly the same, but they are not. There's a little difference. This on my right hand is fondant, and this is the ingredient that we use to cover the cake and make more like soft decorations. So this one doesn't get hard enough. And this one on my left hand is gum paste. This ingredient gets very, very solid and is more likely to get dry quicker. And this is the ingredient that you want to use to make flower petals or decorations for the cake that you want it to be more solid, okay? Now, a fun fact you must know about me is that I am actually colorblind, so I really need to double check the colors I'm using for a cake. You know, because I think the client will be very mad if I bring a violet cake when they specifically ask for a blue cake. I usually use a reference image or picture to make sure that I can match the colors. However, in this case specifically, the client requested a variety of blues, which allow me a more open option to play with the colors. I'm going to proceed to cut the wires I'm going to use for the petals of the flowers I'm going to put on the cake. And these flowers need 13 petals, so I'll need to cut 13 wires per flower. In order for the flower to look as realistic as possible, I'm going to proceed to stretch the gum paste, and I want to match the thinness of a real flower petal in order to be successful at this step. I'm going to use circular cookie cutters to make the 13 petals that this particular flower requires. I'm going to take advantage of the gum paste that is left, and I'm going to make some cartoon flowers which I can use in the empty spots of the cake or to cover any imperfections. Now, this is the most difficult step of the process because you have to introduce the stem into the petal. So, since it's so thin, it often gets broken or damaged, and it's very stressful. That's why using a little bit of water will work like a perfect kind of lubricant that will allow the stem to get glued to the petal. In order to accomplish the petal waves, I'm gonna gently press this metal ball tool around the petal in circular patterns, avoiding breaking the petal. Now, have in mind that this flower requires 13 petals, so I'm gonna do 9 flowers, which is 117 petals and wires, which is a lot. For the small cartoon flower, you're just gonna put it on the center of your hand and you're gonna gently press with any stick you have to get that cup look. Once the petals are dry, I can proceed to put them together with floral tape, and this will allow me to build the flower. I have to be very gentle and very cautious because you don't want to break the petals after they're dry. And just keep in mind that I have to put together 117 of these petals in order to just build 9 flowers. So yes, it's a lot of effort and work. That might give you a perspective on why cakes are not cheap. We have arrived to the presentation step, and on this part of the process, I actually get to put the flowers on the cake and cover any mistake, fix any imperfection before delivery. Once verified, the cake is ready for delivery, and any other final touches will be added at the venue. You know, sometimes I often ask myself, did I just make this? And yes, it's a very stressful process, but it's very fulfilling. Once the cake is set and ready, the best part is watching your clients enjoying your creation. People always ask me, what is the part of the process that you actually enjoy the most? And the answer is very simple. I just love to make people happy.